welcome back to our third episode of DNF. So today we wanted to start off our video by just talking about another trade that happened that sent Nick Foles and his hefty contract to the Chicago Bears. So the details were the Chicago Bears acquired Nick Foles and the Jacksonville Jaguars. They acquired a fourth-round selection, which was a compensation pick. Nick Foles has $21 million in guarantees remaining, and he was due $15.13 million in 2020, and his $5 million bonus became fully guaranteed a couple of Fridays ago, and the Jaguars will inherit almost $19 million of his salary in dead money.
Yep.
So Frankie,
as we know, Nick Foles signed a 4-year, $88 million contract. He was projected to be the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars after Blake Bortles left. Blake Bortles, he was not the face of the franchise quarterback. So they brought in a guy who was fresh off a Super Bowl win. He was backing up Carson Wentz most of the time, but he shined in the big moments. So Jacksonville really brought him in because he thought he would be the guy to really put us back in the playoffs. Sadly, during the first game, I think it was the first drive, Nick Foles gets a really severe injury, and he gets carted off the field. And we are then introduced to Gardner Minshew. And from that game on, while Nick Foles was recovering from his injury, it really became Gardner Minshew's team. And we really saw Nick Foles was maybe not the guy for the job anymore because of Gardner Minshew's progression. But yeah.
Yeah. So in my opinion, this trade shows that Jacksonville is invested in Gardner Minshew. I think now the next steps in the ownership and the front office is to invest in receivers, whether that's through the draft. They have picks 9 and 20 in this year's draft. They definitely have other picks that they can use on receivers. DJ Chark is a good receiver, amassed over 1,000 yards this past season, also got a lot of touchdowns. So that was definitely a big target for Gardner Minshew. They also did sign Tyler Eifert, I think, on a 2-year pact. I'm not so sure about those details, but I think they need to invest more in the tight end and wide receiver positions. They need a pair of receiver alongside DJ Chark for Gardner Minshew. So that's definitely huge.
And having a quarterback winning that type of money, but being injured, really, well, Jacksonville didn't give Nick Foles a chance, but it's understandable because he was injured. And to ship him off for a 4th-round pick, maybe questionable, but on the other hand, Chicago gets a proven winner who's won the Super Bowl, competing with Mitch Trubisky. As we know, Mitch Trubisky was the number 2 pick in the draft 3 years ago in front of Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. That's pretty harsh, but he's going to bring in competition because as we knew last year and the year before, it was, even though he produced Mitch Trubisky, it was his team, and there was no one to surpass him. So he's going to bring Nick Foles a new energy to the team and compete for the starting job.
Yeah, and if I had to make a comparison to any other quarterback in the league right now, Nick Foles really reminds me of Tom Brady. And it might sound crazy, but I'll just tell you why. They're both, I wouldn't say they're both immobile, but they haven't proved to be very athletic in terms of, making plays out of the pocket, on the bootleg. So it is understandable. Um, Chicago's O-line hasn't been so bad. Nick Foles is also a very, very smart passer like Tom Brady, in the sense that they don't throw picks very often. At least Nick Foles makes smart throws. He makes the check down throws. Neither of them have really showcased their deep arm ability, throwing the deep ball. But they're both very good passers, and they both have very good accuracy. Nick Foles, when he was starting in St. Louis, he made the Pro Bowl. I think 2013, he actually won the MVP of the Pro Bowl. Um, I'm pretty sure, and I think he led the league in the passer rating as well. He's had a very good passer rating, even when he was with Philly, when he made those playoff runs. He posted a lot of high passer rating games. So Chicago is getting a winner. Allen Robinson's a great target. They just signed, our former tight end Jimmy Graham. And they have a pretty good slot receiver in Anthony Miller. Yeah. So moving on. So we've been joined by two guests. So the first one was on my football team, my teammate. Well, they were both my teammates, but the first one, started his fitness account. He's super fast, super aggressive. Any team would be lucky to have him on the field. Our friend Keon. And our second guest, he'll catch balls, yak monster, gets like thousands of yards after the catch. On defense, this guy can play any position on defense, linebacker, corner, safety, whatever, defensive lineman too. He'll make it his priority to get to where the ball is. So yeah, Marcus Lynch, welcome on the podcast.
Yo, thanks for having me.
Up, boys.
Two big Rams fans. Probably not loving the way Les Snead is going.
No,
Oh,
not
my.
at all. It's not looking too good for the Rams for the upcoming season.
Yeah, I think the next year is not going to be our greatest season. We've lost a lot of players, but yeah.
So maybe you guys don't know, but yesterday there's a trade, and so the Rams send Brandon Cooks and a fourth round pick to the Houston Texans in return of a second round pick. So do you guys want to comment on that trade?
Yeah, okay, so I think this is a very good deal because Brandon Cooks was getting paid a lot of money, and he wasn't producing. He got like 500 yards last season, which doesn't help the team in any way. So I think it's a very good deal to trade him because he was eating our money up, and we need money for new players.
Honestly, I think that it was a good trade for the Rams because of how much money that they were spending on him. But the thing is that he's more valuable of a receiver. Like, he made plays, even though he had 500 yards. He still made plays, and the year before he brought in the Super Bowl. He was playing like really well, and alongside Cooper Cup, and just carrying the team. So I think it was worth more than what he was traded for. So maybe they could have got a better deal out of it if they like, you know.
And also, I think Brandon Cooks didn't have the year that we expected because of the offensive line, and I'll tell you why. Because Brandon Cooks is more of a deep route receiver. If you give time to Jared Goff, he'll find Brandon Cooks deep a lot of the times, and he didn't have the time he needed this season because most of the offensive line retired or left the team, which made it very hard to produce on offense.
I also think that Jared Goff isn't the starting quarterback that we need right now. He doesn't seem very like ready to compete. When he's on the field, he looks scared. I don't know if I'm wrong, but he looks scared to me. He just throws the ball when he sees pressure, and he just looks for his top receivers like Brandon Cooks and Cooper Cup. And I think that it's his fault for Brandon Cooks' downfall last season.
Well, Brandon Cooks did get injured last year a little, But yeah, moving on. You guys next year it's gonna be a really slim wide receiver corps. Guys only gonna have Cooper Cup. How do you guys think you're gonna manage that
Robert
on
Woods too.
offense? Oh yeah, Robert Woods.
On the receiver end, I think we'll be fine. We have a lot of talent in the receiver core. I don't think we really need a big name as, as a receiver, as our number one receiver right now. Because right now, I think the Rams don't really know what they want. I think they want to win another Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl again. But I don't think they're ready for that, and I think they should just start rebuilding and trying to get better players.
Yeah, they also need to find their identity on offense because the last season, the 2019 season, they didn't really have an identity because Gurley wasn't playing how he was the season before. Goff wasn't playing how he was the season before. Like everything was kind of falling apart, and they were looking for an identity the whole season. So,
In my
yeah,
opinion, I want to give a little hot take. So in my opinion, what I think is going to happen, the Rams have 2 second-round picks now. The tight end class isn't so deep, and I feel like there's a very low chance that a tight end will come off the board in day one. My opinion, Tyler Higbee is an emerging star, but I feel like it would be a good idea maybe if Sean McVay and Les Snead drafted a tight end in the second round and had a double tight end formation along with Cooper Cup and Robert Woods because, Robert Woods was used a lot in their end arounds and in their jet sweeps. But maybe, if they fake it and, have like a little bang route by one of the tight ends, it could create, some more yards after the play. That's just my conspiracy, but take it however you like.
yeah, and there's been rumors that the Rams want to sign Jameis Winston, not to replace Jared Goff, but to add competition to the QB position. This would push Jared Goff to improve because he needs to know that his job isn't guaranteed because Goff is getting paid a lot of money, and he needs to know that his job is not getting guaranteed because he needs more competition because he's not playing how we expect him to.
On the field and in practice, it doesn't seem like he wants to compete. And I think Jameis Winston, being the big name that he is, although he was pretty trash last season, he's still a great quarterback. And I think in the system that the Rams have or are trying to find, he could be a good addition. So I'm just excited to see what happens between them and see who could come out with the starting job at the end of the offseason.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think giving more competition in that quarterback room would be good for Jared Goff. He is a young quarterback. He's not mobile. He's established himself as a pocket passer. And, Sean McVay could do so much to help him. But, it's those that take the next step and, focus on what they can do to get the ball moving and move the chains. Jared Goff needs to push himself. And I think that if Les Snead is able to sign maybe Jameis Winston,
Or
just to give
Cam
him that,
Newton.
yeah, even Cam Newton, just to give him that competition. I think that's what Ryan Pace and the Chicago Bears are trying to do, to try and push Mitch Trubisky by jeopardizing, his starting job. And, maybe it will work. That's what we need to see.
So just a question like this. Like you guys think that the first round picks given up for Jalen Ramsey, like we see you guys aren't too sure about the future. Do you think now that we look back at it, you guys would still do that trade?
Um,
Go ahead.
I believe that it was a risky trade because we're not going to get first round picks for the next few years, and if Jalen Ramsey isn't going to produce like he was at Jacksonville, I think that it was a terrible trade. But we'll see how he produces because last season he played well. Like he was still a lockdown corner, but he didn't. He only got one interception, which the years before that he got many more, and he was doing all types of crazy plays. But we'll see how it goes.
Well, I think it was a great trade because I think Jalen Ramsey just needs time to adjust to the system and to the Rams defense because you already know the Rams defense is really strong, still strong even though they lost a lot of their secondary, you know.
Yeah,
But
Dante Fowler too.
yeah, but he's a hard worker, you know. I could see him working hard and like producing more. I just think that the Rams are really trying to rebuild and they're trying to like be low key about how they're rebuilding because they still want to everyone in the league to think they still want to compete. Like they traded Todd Gurley, they traded Brandon Cooks, and they're acquiring Jameis Winston. So you could see that they're trying to rebuild the team and trying to find a new identity, as Keon said. So Jalen Ramsey it was an okay trade. I don't know if it was the best idea at the time, but they needed a quarterback.
So do you guys think the Rams Super Bowl window is open right now?
As of right now,
So
no. As of right now, no. But in a few years, I think they're gonna slowly rebuild their team. That's why they're letting all these players go for tons of money. I think they're gonna work on slowly rebuilding their teams over the next few years, and I think in a few years they're gonna have a really strong team that could potentially go to Super Bowl. But next year, I would be very surprised.
yeah, I think the same. Like the Rams aren't looking too good right now. Last season they were a mess. Like the front office was a mess. The team was a mess. I didn't even know what I was watching half of the time because it didn't look like the Rams that I knew. So I'm just scared because I don't want the front office to make any bad decisions, like any more bad decisions, like the way they treated Todd Gurley and the way they tried to like preserve him during the Super Bowl, you know, because of his injury. But I think if they played him, they probably would have won. But just the coaching and everything, I think they need to be more aggressive. I guess that
Well,
makes sense.
yeah, I think you guys are a little radical. Um, Especially like the coming year, there's going to be seven teams that make the playoff in both the AFC and NFC. And last year, you guys would have been the seventh team. So, like talking about rebuilding, I don't think it's justified to say, but yeah, you guys are maybe missing a few pieces to take that next step and go back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, in my
Yeah.
opinion, um, I don't think that I understand that the Rams are, letting go of a lot of, players that are big names. But I think it's also important to know that, this draft class is very stacked. The receiver, they could easily get a good running back like Jonathan Taylor, Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the second round. So I feel like they have a plan. Sean McVay has always tried to get Jared Goff to throw a little deeper. Um, but especially the fact that the Arizona Cardinals made a big trade for DeAndre Hopkins, it's definitely going to be tough. And I feel like the moves that they're doing, they're just trying to prepare for more competition. Maybe they won't win as of yet. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but I wouldn't count them out.
Oh, the thing for me, I'm not counting them out of the playoffs. Obviously, as a Rams fan, I really want them to make the playoffs, and I have high hopes for the Rams. I'm just saying that they didn't look good last season, and it looked
Yeah.
like it was just going downhill from there. And losing the Todd Gurley and losing Brandon Cooks and like trading away picks is just like it makes it look even worse from now. But like I'm really excited to see what happens during this season because you never know. Look at the Ravens. They came out of nowhere with Lamar Jackson just balling out. You know, like anything could happen in the NFL. So who
Yep.
knows?
Every year's a new year.
Exactly.
So I think that wraps up our segment with our guests.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you
And,
guys for coming
sharing
out.
your honor.
Thanks for
Hey,
having
no
me.
problem, bro.
Yeah, it's amazing. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. We'll try and respond to all of them.
Yeah.
And have dialogue with the fans.
Thank
We'll try and post as much as we can. But thank you for the support.
you.
Thanks
See you
for
next
having me.
time.
When they say I'm falling, but they be calling when they see me balling. Pass me the rock, man, I feel like I'm spouting. These niggas foul with the rep, do not call it. I've been in the foreigns, you can't even start it. I want a big body, you can't even park it. I'ma go dumb out regardless, cause mama always told me, boy, finish what you started.